So hello ladles and jelly spoons. Today we're going to be looking at a 5-minute urban sketch with 2 colours. So urban sketching, as we know, is a really great way of capturing your environment and sort of telling the story of your world, where you live, where you visit. It doesn't take a lot of time, you know, in 5 minutes or 10 minutes you can capture a scene, you can splash and paint around, have a bit of fun and create some real little gems of art. So the first thing I'm going to do today is do some quick sketches. I'm going to do a 1-minute sketch, I'm going to do a 2-minute sketch, and I'm going to do a 5-minute sketch. That's why these are on the table, my Red Wing boots. I'm going to be sketching them. So for my 1-minute sketch, the first thing I'm going to be sketching is this ink bottle. Now I'm going to be sketching that with a fine liner, 0.8 fine liner. So let's go. Now if you're doing little 1-minute sketches, it's probably quite good to choose something relatively simple. You don't want to be trying to draw like a whole, you know, house or a human face or something, because that's just going to get super complicated. So keep it really simple, and you know, you don't have to draw big, you can draw small. Try and be a bit loose. I'm going to sort of try and draw some of the reflections on this one. Here we go. And then there's going to be some knurled grip type things there. 10 minutes, 10 seconds. There you go. I might put some paint over these, and that's me. So there's a minute. So that's fun. So next I'm going to do these boots, but I'm going to do something a bit different here. I'm going to do it with my left hand. Some people, the first sketch they do of the day is with their left hand, just to free yourself. It's very zen. Just to make you realise that it don't matter. It doesn't matter. So yeah, 3 minutes with my left hand. This is going to be great. Starting. Okay, this is quite a challenge. Focus on looking and not on what you're doing. Okay, now do I draw the laces in? I don't know, I'll have to draw something. Have we got a minute? God, I'm going too slow. Right, so I'm just going to quickly gesture the other one in here. Put some of that toe cap in there. I'm just going to put a thicker line around the outside. Go all the way around. This is brilliant. I'm having a lot of fun. Right, so 22 seconds left. Kind of, I guess I could put some stitch detail on them. Like that. Around the top too. And then over the toe cap. Oh, right, there you go. All with my left hand. Crazy times. So for my last example, I'm using a brush pen, which just puts down a lot of ink just very quickly. And I like the mark making. I think you get some really interesting marks with this. You can go very light and get some very fine marks, or you can go a little bit, press a bit harder and get, you know, heavy ones. Anyway, so this to me looks like some mansion, maybe some old sort of plantation house. It's got that kind of fake Palladian front, which you see on a lot of old mansion. Palladian, as in Palladio, who was a architect from the 1500s who sort of repurposed this neoclassical style of sort of ancient Greek and Roman architecture that we see. And it became fashionable again in the sort of 17 and 1800s. And you see this style in most, I would say most sort of the most iconic buildings, you know, of the 17 and 1800s, certainly in Britain. I'll draw these columns in quick, I can't be messing about. I don't even know how many columns there are there, I'm just gonna make it up. You see I'm holding the pen, I'm just letting it be really super loose. The whole point of, for me, of drawing these kind of pieces is to actually have fun and loosen yourself up before you start doing more sort of considered pieces, if you know what I mean. It won't do any harm, will it? These brush pens are a lot of fun. These and this is brown, obviously this isn't black. The reason I've chose brown is because why not? Makes a change, and that's me. So I might splash a bit of paint over those and just have a play. And basically, I'm just going to do a bit of a grey thing on there. Leave some white for the highlights. There we go. I might just add in a little bit more shadows like that. Simple, no fanciness. Now, if you wanted to do something a bit more interesting with that as a colour scheme, you could get something is like a brighter colour. And that just makes it sort of pop off the page a little bit. Don't be afraid of having a play. That's the other thing about these sketches is you're kind of not really that invested because you've just done it. That's like a 1 minute sketch. So as a little play, it's a lot of fun. There you go. Well, like I said, you know, you don't have to be too precious about it. Just really have a play. And it's a great way of, say, let's just introduce a bit of orange there. It's a great way of seeing how colours mix. And again, I'm not going to bother with anything else there. If you wanted to do something like a bit of a contrast there, you could just add in some blue. And that's going to make that brown really pop off the page. Using a small mop brush here. There you go. Break up some of those shapes. So we obviously have some of this sort of shadow area in the front here, and you can add that in. You see the way I'm holding the brush just to the side, just to try and smaller marks as you get further back, to try and suggest the shadow that's living under this tree. Now the shadow value is going to be, you know, probably not quite as dark because it's on a lighter blue, but it means that you've got to put a bit more dark up there. Right, anyway, that's fine. It's just a mess about, just having a play. Yeah, that's fun for a little play, and that's the whole point of this. So there we go. We have our 1 minute. We have our 3 minute. And then we have our 5 minute. And that's 3 super fast versions, super quick. And now for the main tutorial. So for this video, I've just fast forwarded the drawing part, but the painting part is still available in full, and that's coming up in a few seconds. To get full versions of my videos, such as this one, which is about half an hour long, check out my Patreon, where for a small fee every month you can get full versions, feedback from myself about your art, join the community. So do check that out. There's a link in my bio. Thank you. So before I go and do the painting stage here, I'm just going to quickly do some swatching, and I think this is a nice way of reminding me going forward what I've done, but also it's a really nice way of showing you guys, you know, how I'm going to actually colour this up. And this is a super simple 2-colour painting. This is a super simple 2-colour painting. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this rose hip, which is very sort of synonymous of the Robin Hood's Bay, these lovely orange pan tiles. And I'm going to use some French ultramarine. And I like French ultramarine for skies. I know a lot of people would think it was a little bit too saturated for a blue sky, but I quite like a fun, poppy, over-the-top colouring experience sometimes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in some of that French ultramarine and let that just do its own thing. Sometimes for skies, it's nice to give them a real sense of direction, or in a sense of kind of urgency almost. But other times I like to, you know, dab a few things in, create a bit of a V shape, which sort of is a nice colourful funnel that leads you down into the centre of the picture a little bit. I've added on a little bit of blue just to the trousers there, just to give some kind of colour harmony. And I'm blobbing in some rose hip here. So I've added in a little bit of the rose hip on the roofs there, and that's just going to add obviously like a base layer really. And then I'm mixing the French ultramarine and the rose hip together, and I'm going in and I'm doing a first sort of shadow layer. Now the reference drawing doesn't really show very distinct shadows, so what I'm doing is I'm amplifying them up a little bit and really pretending that we're getting a lot of light from the right hand side. So with a bit more of a rich pigmented mix of the rosehip and French ultramarine, I'm going to go in, I'm going to put in that window detail. Now, we all do windows in different ways. I do windows in lots of different ways, but as a real shortcut, what I kind of like to do is just add in some darker areas for windows, and I'm using that dark pigment to sort of embellish the shadows, put some shadows in by those people there. I did that a little bit earlier. And I'm also just adding a little bit of shadow in a few other little places, and a bit more of that concentrated rose hip for the chimney pots. Now once that's done, I'm going to dry that, actually hair dry that super quickly, and then use a gel pen to add in some window frame details. Again, this is a really quick and quite easy fudge really to enable you to get in that more detailed window frames on the Yorkshire sash windows, but it's quick. I quite like it. And then finally, I'm going to use a thinner brush and get a little bit more of the rose hip on here, a little bit of the darker pigment, and I'm going to run it down just those roofs to really get a sense of that pantile detail there. Here's a couple of close-ups where you can see where it's the pantiles are working. You can see this is very messy. I mean, particularly when you get closer in, it's quite impressionistic. I really like that. And again, you know, there's lines over the top of lines. Some of the lines you don't really need to be there. Some of the shadows are really quite kind of messed up a little bit as well, but I really like that. I think it works really well. Lots of love from Yorkshire. We'll see you again. Bye bye.